This thing work? Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Wheeler. I am not a punk. I have never been a punk. I have punk friends, but they would laugh me out of the room if they heard me call myself that. While I don't know what I am right now, I do know what I was. A DIY kid. Boom. Specifically, a DIY indie kid from the 90s and 2000s. On the whole, we're known for our do-it-yourself mindset. We made our own music, performed at our own venues, often houses and basements, self-published our own zines, that's magazines, screen printed our own stuff, used connections to get free photocopies. If we weren't provided what we needed, we figured out a way to make it ourselves, and we accepted and praised the inherent flaws in doing that work. We had fierce loyalties and firmly held beliefs. We were also young, talented, intelligent, funny, and we partied a lot. Kind of sounds a little punk, huh? Well, it turns out DIY indie kids learned a hell of a lot from punk. And it wasn't until I started working on this talk that I understood just what spawned this explosion of creativity in my life. So, who am I? Well, other than a sarcastic, beardless, and childless artist, I'm currently the marketing and creative director of the A2AC, the Ann Arbor Arts Center. We've been around 116 years, a cornerstone in our city. Me, I've been around for 48 years, born in 1977, the year punk broke. I've been in Ann Arbor for nearly half my time on Earth. Now, during my life, I've been a lot of wildly different things. A cartoonist, a film reviewer, illustrator, poster artist, editorialist, member of a metal band, a high-energy rock and roll band, a disco group. I've also been a public access TV show host, an art show creator, Lego enthusiast, album artist, zine maker, and other stuff that I've probably forgotten. I've worked with my heroes. All right. Oh, thanks. I've worked with my heroes, that's director John Carpenter. I've been published. I've shown my art around the world. I was also the leader and co-DJ with famous Star Wars nut Jason Gibner on a little something called The Bang. More on that later. Now, I get this a lot. How are you able to do everything you do? Man, I don't know. But if I was forced to say, do a talk about it, I guess I'd give a lot of credit to DIY culture. When you're surrounded by dope people doing dope things that you respect and admire, you want to do that stuff too. And then once you start doing things, it's way too easy to get on the train and not look back. Case in point, The Bang. The Bang Mixtape Dance Party was a completely ridiculous monthly event that we threw for 18 years in Ann Arbor. That's over 150 parties, where at any moment you could hear David Bowie go right into the Spice Girls, Beyonce, Hall & Oates, Rolling Stones, Peaches, LCD Sound System, Aretha Franklin, The Beatles, and The Clash. We made sets, we had crazy lights, a gorilla would appear out of nowhere. In general, it was a wild, sweaty, crazy time for people of all ages, backgrounds, straight, LGBTQ, it didn't matter. But it was all fueled by DIY. And yes, we DJ'd off of mixtapes, audio cassettes painstakingly put together by Gibner and I. We also made hundreds of hours of mix videos that we'd play on VHS over old TVs and rotting projectors. We were insanely analog in a very silly and, as it turns out, prolific way. Now, where did the Bang come from? Well, from a basement. Actually, a couple. When I moved to Ann Arbor from Grand Rapids with some of my best buds, including Gibner right here, but not including Matt, right away we found our scene. The first night that we were in town, my high school buddy Evan invited us to the Blind Pig to see the White Stripes. There were about 100 people there. Now, we already knew who they were because we worked at a record store in Grand Rapids. But then we headed directly to an after party after that, and it was filled with people who would soon become our pals. Our first jobs were at a copy shop and music store, which mainlined us right into Ann Arbor's indie kid scene, which actually looked a lot like the small indie pop scene we left in Grand Rapids. Soon, we were at basement shows, in alt music venues, and around some of the most intelligent, funny, creative, and attractive people around. We started DJing a couple parties in basements. Now, we didn't have the equipment to DJ on records, but we knew how to make mixtapes. And Gibner and I would make crazy party tapes that was, filled with, Weezer, Pizzicato 5, Pavement, Matador Records artists, classic rock jams, and just a mishmash of stuff. All of this was inspired by The Loop in Windsor, Canada, where, that's pretty punk. Okay, so The Loop in Windsor, Canada, where their weekend indie nights were famous for their UFO-shaped DJ booth, debauchery, hookups, letting loose, and very long car rides home. And we would bring friends with us, right? And once our Ann Arbor crew started going, it was a thing to do when no shows were being thrown at the Pirate House or the Halfway Inn, two homegrown DIY venues in town. Then 9/11 hit. Border shut down. Now, what happens when indie kid resources are shut down? We do it ourselves. The Bang was born in November of 2001, just a few months after moving to Ann Arbor. The first ones were hyped up on the Michigan Indie List, a long-forgotten online message board. Yeah. And thrown at the aforementioned Halfway Inn, aka the Half-Ass, a cafeteria venue under U of M's residential college, where a bunch of kids we hung out with went to school and work. Long story short, it was an immediate success. People showed up despite there not being a bar, which does not mean that there wasn't alcohol. Surprising no one, we were shut down after 3 bangs. But then we moved to the Blind Pig, a place where, it's worth noting, held no dance nights at that time. And we stayed until 2019, when we threw our last party, accurately named The Bang Must Die. Now, the Bang didn't start as a theme party. Before this, it was just cool kids in a smoky bar drenched in PBR and sweat with a couple curtains hung up on the stage. But it morphed into one quickly when a revolving group, when enthusiastic attendees took cues from the posters I designed. During that time, we grew a group of revolving homies to help us. We made outfits, sets, and decorated the shit out of whatever you could see. Everything was stitched or screwed together haphazardly. From the booth for our psychedelic light show to the streamers we'd staple to the ceiling, handmade ridiculousness from friends who loved hanging out and putting a party together. When the themes became the norm, we ran with it. And we kept running with it. And then we kept running with it. And we kept doing it. Now, I say all of this because it's a perfect analogy for basically anything that I've done. Hey, let's make a comic. Great, let's do that for a decade. Hey, Wheeler, want to design logos and mural for Vault of Midnight? Yeah, let's do it. Oh, hey, I have a connection at Esquire. How about I incorporate comics into my film writing for them? Yeah, sounds good. Hey, Wheeler, can you make a poster for this show? Yeah, can I DJ it too? Hey, Wheeler, it's Draplin. Want to make an official Bernie Sanders poster? Boy, do I. Wheeler, did I see your art on a library truck? Yeah, and I just got a picture of it. Hey, Wheeler, you're good at marketing yourself. Want to do some social and marketing at VG Kids, Ipsy screen printers with hardcore DIY roots? You bet. Suddenly I'm, I didn't do it right. Get this. Let's rewind for a second. Mr. Wheeler, how about you design a neon dragon? Sure, you'll have it in 24 hours. Now, let's go back to VG Kids. I was good at marketing myself, and so VG Kids wanted me to come on and do their stuff. Suddenly, I'm hyping up VG Kids and all the incredible artists and galleries that they were printing. And then I started getting into those same galleries, creating movie-inspired posters, being published in books, and then moving into album art. Around that time, I'm exhibiting at South by Southwest, literally duct taping booths together with scraps of foam core and cardboard left over from previous conventions to house blacklight posters that I became known for. Suddenly, I was that weird blacklight poster dude for years. Now, I've got a lot of stories like that. Too many to cover in a 20-minute talk. In any case, this kind of insane creative output was spurred on by my communities and do-it-yourself mindset. Are you surprised that I took a hard left turn when the pandemic hit? Because I did. For the second time, what happens when resources are shut down? When alternative spaces for cool people doing cool shit goes away? No more shows at the Elks Lodge. No more art shows bringing people together. And by that time, no more bangs to plan and DJ. We all experienced loss during that time. And maybe you're like me and decided to learn something to fill that void. In my case, I bucked all of my brightly colored pop art comic book stylings and turned to soft watercolor. Life slowed down. I learned to paint rather delicately. Did I take courses? Not really. I was inspired by simple instructional videos that my brilliant partner, Rachel DeRocher, made at the Art Center, basically for families looking for creative things to do at home so that they could do it themselves. DIY for the suburbs. How genius. And yeah, timeline-wise, just a year before that, I quite suddenly became the head of marketing for the Art Center, which aligned with both a massive life shift and the bang ending. My DIY skills were about to be put to a whole new test. Nonprofits. Because in nonprofits, especially nonprofit marketing, you really need to be good at juggling a lot of things. Which is good because there's a lot of things to juggle at the A2AC. Me, a department of basically one, has to market in any given year hundreds of art classes, dozens of exhibitions, a shop full of local art, art parties, team building, facility rentals, camps, live events, fundraisers and sponsor shout-outs, public art going up all year round, which in that case, I'm now helped in a big way by CreativeMornings Kashmir. Thanks, Cash. You're great. An exceptional, efficient coworker. Oh yeah, plus I do all of the Art Center's social media. So writing, graphics, most of the videos when Brad isn't helping me. Doing all the planning and doing ads across multiple widely different platforms, which means I'm the keeper of the brand, a very fine one developed by your friend and mine, Pete Baker. One of CreativeMornings' earliest speakers in Ann Arbor. Plus, I'm balancing ad budgets for every department from a guy who, until the last 6 months, did not have a personal budget. All of these plates spinning all the time for nearly 7 years. In my time at the A2AC, we survived a pandemic, a rebrand, a capital campaign, 2 $100,000 crowdfunding campaigns, an expansion, a new street gallery, so much construction, and a regime change for which we are now under the great and capable hands of Jen Queen. The A2AC is bigger than it's ever been and doing more all the time. But it's allowed me to just have a day job, and that's it. I used to feel crazy because I had too much stuff going on outside of work. Now, I only feel sometimes crazy because of work. But it's manageable, most of the time. But now, when I'm home, I do things that make me happy that don't have a dollar amount attached to it. I nap. for an hour, every day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this talk should just be called nap. I'm in the office every day at 7:30 a.m. and by 5 p.m. I'm sound asleep at home on the couch. It's great. And the personal time I used to fill with art, posters, conventions, art shows, comics, personal projects, DJ gigs, freelance projects, printing, all of which were side hustles, because good luck making it as an artist in Ann Arbor. All that time is now filled with something crazy called downtime. I cook. I spend quality time with my partner. I have time to play video games. Turns out that's pretty nice. Last year, I picked Lego back up. I built a Muppet Theater. And I even won an award for it and went viral for it. But how does this happen? I don't know, dude. I just made space and did it. Just do it. Not only a Nike slogan, but also a punk ethic. Some say Nike stole it from punk. Anywho, a full life of hustling had afforded me work-life balance in a way I've never had before. But I'd never have it without DIY informing me on how to juggle things and how to do it fast. Good enough. A DIY mindset applied to work. Mind you, I'm often reminded that my good enough is above grade. But it helps me not to spend too much time on something. You know what I have to spend a lot of time on? WordPress, DNS records, things that are made to work, but when they don't, everything grinds to a halt. But for rinse and repeat things, I work fast to get it up to a good enough point, which makes me efficient. Because there's always more work where that came from. If you get good at what you do and you value your time, being efficient is your superpower. Now, I'm certain that in the next 10 years, hell, 2 to 4 years, efficiencies will change the face of our work. We're seeing it now. It's happening. Congratulations. You are living during one of the most fascinating, horrific, dumbest, and light speed changing moments in history. I want to scream all the time. But at the same time, things blow my mind on the regular. It just takes a lot to keep up with it. So now a deep sense of self-care, morality, and keeping loose is a key to all of our futures. And, thanks to these new artificial efficiencies. Working in nonprofits, there's not a lot of money, especially now. Nonprofits must survive. Art must survive. We need to expand our empathy to those who do not yet have the tools that we do. And if you do not have those tools, you better be efficient at your workarounds. Working in nonprofits strengthen key attributes I'd already learned from DIY. Confidence, flexibility, efficiency, empathy. Now, there are downsides to dedicating so much of your life to a DIY mindset. The go at it alone or just put some duct tape on it approach just really doesn't fly all the time. It can cripple you, silo you, make you stubborn, arrogant, and grumpy. And then one day, you really might find yourself alone, and it's all your fault. Carl Jung and Leonardo da Vinci both said similar things about life. We spend the first half of our life building a self, and the second half letting go of it. For years, DIY framed my entire being. I threw events, dumpster dive, published my own work, all in a desperate attempt to show the world me. Did you? Here, let me take a little sip of water. So, DIY framed my entire being, all in a desperate attempt to show the world me, or at least show me that I could do that. Letting go of that and the more toxic traits that it birthed has been freeing. But those building blocks are still there, and they still inform so much of what I do and how I see and react to the world. Which brings me back to punk. It's this week's theme. Now, punk has evolved a lot through the years. but it began by a reaction to what was going on in the culture. The New York City punk scene in the 70s was fueled by a deep disillusionment with authority in the wake of the Vietnam War. New York City punk emerged as a raw response to the city's bleak economic decline, channeling creativity and cheap communal city life into stripped-down music and a DIY ethos born from necessity. Art, self-expression, gender fluidity, originality, theater, drugs, and camp sensibilities ruled supreme, and it ended up changing the face of music forever. This inspired the UK scene, which was even more political, and with some rallying against the monarchy and others the anti-Semitism of the day, both in an in-your-face fashionable way. During this first wave, punks helped fight against a political movement that wanted to deport all non-whites from Britain, and they got really close. That movement lost thanks to the support of bands like The Clash, who embraced a multicultural aesthetic inspired partly by their love of Jamaican music and weed. Just as the UK scene was exploding, the spotlight ping-ponged back to the State with a Southern California punk movement featuring more aggressive music style known as hardcore. In this case, American kids were reacting and retaliating against brutal policing strategies of the LAPD. At the same time, activism, social justice, personal freedoms, and heavy DIY themes informed the Washington, D.C. hardcore scene, right in our capital, where bands self-published and distributed their own music and organized their own shows, often in unconventional spaces. In a very big way, hardcore birthed DIY. Today, punk rock still lives, but like all music these days, it gets lost in the shuffle. Henry Rollins, one of hardcore's premier frontmen, said, in a way, that punk became absorbed by the culture. Punk still lives, but now more as an act. This aligns with music producer Dave Goodman, who talks about how punk has existed throughout the ages. Basically, any time that oppressed people that through their art express their dissent. Which brings me to now. For the third time, we find ourselves in yet another moment when resources are shut down, communities torn apart. History repeats itself. Johnny Rotten, the snarling frontman in the UK punk band the Sex Pistols, said this about what punk boils down to: honesty, originality, and a genuine feel from another human being, which is empathy. And if being punk is about empathy just as much as honesty and originality, then maybe it's pretty damn necessary to be punk these days. Because right now, the blatant lack of empathy with a whole lot of people at the top blows my damn mind. Yeah. And if you're honest to yourself and to others about what's going on, and you channel your originality into whatever you need at that moment just to get you out of bed every day, then maybe you too are a little punk. And maybe we have to be a little punk to survive this. For me, DIY is a necessity for being whatever the hell I need at that moment, and for giving myself a break from reality or rebelling against it. Because continuing to live as an artist right now is defiant in and of itself. And that's pretty damn punk. In case you were wondering, some of you were handed out folded pieces of paper when you came in. My challenge to you is to make something of it, or at least a first draft. Write on it, draw on it, make a comic. Hell, share some recipes. Speak your truth. Make it stupid. Make it serious. Make it you. Make copies at work and give them to your friends. Get off your phone and make something tangible. Just do it yourself. See what happens. I can't wait to read it. Good luck, and thanks.